Hello guys, and welcome to my review of the Nuraphones by Nura. This is a rather new, quite revolutionary product, I would say. The price at this time of review is $399 US. You can pick this up from Nuraphone's website as well as Amazon. So let's get to the design. This is the case that comes with the headphones. It's a pretty nice case, rather durable feeling, rigid, feels like it could protect it from decent drop, as well as low level water resistance and of course scratches. So the case opens up with this magnetic latch here. And once you open up the latch, you would then pull the top part of the case open like so. And then as you can see, the headphones are nestled in here. Now within the case, you have this compartment that houses a singular cable. The cable that comes with the Nuraphones by default is the proprietary connector to USB Type A. You can use this cable to either charge or allow digital sounds from your computer or smart device. So this is the proprietary cable. Now Nuraphone or Nura chose this design to allow the headphones to be able to connect to multiple sources. So you can connect this headphone with different cables to a USB-A type input, USB-C type input, a Lightning type input, a micro USB type input, as well as the analog 3.5 millimeter type input. So this is the USB-A type connector. Cable goes into the headphones like so. It's a pretty deep recessed input, as you can see here. Cable goes in like so. And there you have it. Another cool thing is once you put the cable back into the cable compartment, they magnetically attach back to the case like so. As you can see, it will not fall out. It's a pretty cool feature. Now onto the headphones themselves. These are primarily constructed of a anodized aluminum. These feel very rigid, and they have this very nice quality silicone on the air cup portion themselves. Let's focus in some more. So the cup portions themselves, as well as through the rather unusual inner ear part of the headphones. I would actually call this like an IEM or earphone slash headphone hybrid. But this whole inner part here is pretty much constructed of a pretty high quality silicone, as well as the headband portion here. As well as the outer capsule part here in this area. But as you can see, this aluminum has been kind of chamfered down, brings this nice shimmering chrome touch. This outer part here is an aluminum. The headband here is aluminum here. Nice durable thick wiring that is exposed. It's a very nice build. Very, very nice. Now in terms of the headphone adjustment, it's kind of like the Sennheiser Momentums, if you're familiar with that. They kind of just slide up and down this rail. Pretty smooth. Doesn't feel like they will move when they're on your head. And from using these have not changed their positions while they were on my head. They do not fold up, which is a bummer. So they do remain this size at all times, which is why the case is pretty large. Now, comfort-wise, due to the rather unusual design language of this earphone slash headphone hybrid, these are pretty comfortable, actually more comfortable than I thought they would be. So the clamping pressure on this headphone is pretty snug, but it's not too much, and the silicone ear cups do help alleviate some of that pressure of the headphones clamping down on the side of your head. The inner portion, which goes inside your ear, does compress downwards. As you can see, it essentially adjusts to the anatomy of your head thoroughly. So this is a well engineered, well thought out product in terms of the comfort and the fit on the people that are going to be wearing these. Now, they do not rival the comfort of a nicely padded over the ear headphone because of this inner ear portion that sticks out and tries to get inside of your ears. You do, well, for me, I do feel like I always have something inside of my ears as well as something over my ears at all times. But you kind of get used to it after a while, and for me, it's decently comfortable, and I really don't have much gripes with the comfort of these. However, it can definitely vary depending on the individual. I've had seen reviews of people who said that these were incredibly comfortable, and I've also seen reviews of people saying that these were downright painful to use. For me, I'm more in the middle ground. Sometimes it can lead more to pretty good comfort, but overall, these are decently comfortable for me, and I don't really have much gripes other than the feeling of something inside of my ears while I have a headphone on. It's something I just can't really that feeling just cannot fade away. I've gotten used to it, but it's just that feeling is always going to be there. So the battery life for me has been pretty good. It lasts about 18 hours. It's been advertised for 20 hours, but I do listen to music a little bit over moderate volume. So if you listen to music more on the lower volume scale, you could probably squeeze out those 20 hours pretty effectively. Charge time is about, say, 2.5 to 3 hours. The cable that comes with these, the USB Type A cables, charges them as well as provides a digital signal. You can plug it into a computer or a USB wall adapter. If you use a lightning cable and you plug that into your phone, the headphones will also charge off the lightning cable. You can use a USB-C cable to charge the headphones as well. It's pretty well versed in terms of the charging capabilities, depending on which cable you have. However, the downsides is that there is no LED notification on the headphone. There's no indicator of the battery unless you download the app, of course, which is pretty much necessary to even use the headphones. But within the app, it'll tell you what the current battery level is. However, you can't really tell what the charge level is, so you just kind of have to plug it in and unplug them after 3 hours or so. It's a first product from this company, so I can kind of give them the pass in terms of the complete feature set and experience to the user. Some things were, of course, overlooked, but there's no way to really tell the charge on these headphones. There's like no indicator. There's no power button, but I'll get more to that later. Next up, we have the Bluetooth codecs and what it supports. Thankfully, this does support aptX and aptX HD, which will allow 24-bit lossless files to come through in near its full glory. So you can pretty much get a very high quality listening experience over Bluetooth with these headphones thanks to the aptX HD. iOS devices at this time, such as an iPad and iPhone, does not support aptX HD, but thankfully this headphone also supports AAC, which is what the iOS devices use. I believe that is up to 256 kilobits per second, which is pretty good, especially if it's you're playing lossless audio. It'll get down converted to AAC 256 kilobits per second, which for the most part is pretty damn near indistinguishable from lossless file types, unless you're listening in a very quiet listening space with very high sensitive headphones that can pick up a lot of intricate details. Other than that, if you're out and about, you're not going to really know as much of the difference. Apple Music, iTunes, their music is streamed in AAC 256 kilobits per second. The other Bluetooth codec that is supported by this headphone is the default SBC codec, which is used in case your device does not support aptX or AAC. Feature-wise, this headphone does turn on and off depending on whether or not you have the headphones on your head. I believe it uses maybe the pressure sensitivity of the inner ear portion, or maybe there's some kind of sensitivity in the ear cup outer portion, but it does turn on, and when it does, it says welcome back, and whatever you named your sound profile in the app. So if you named your sound profile red, it'll say welcome back red. It's pretty nice and intuitive. Either side here, this little piece is a capacitive haptic feedback based touch button, I would kind of say. Basically, when you tap it, it kind of slightly vibrates. It's like a haptic feedback. But you can only program either this side or this side to, say, skip to the next track, go to the previous track, turn on and off immersion mode, or you can do it to play pause, or you could do play pause as well as answering or hanging up on a phone call. It's not that fully featured in terms of the controls. You cannot adjust the volume, and you cannot activate your voice assistant. So those two very important features are lacking on this headphone in terms of being able to control your media without taking your device out and controlling your media from there. Now let's get to the bigger features in which sets these headphones apart from essentially the competition. These headphones have very sensitive NASA grade microphones built into each ear cup that essentially during the app setup process will pick up on any sound frequencies that you're more or less sensitive to. And this is called auto acoustics. So essentially when your eardrums receive a frequency, your eardrums will also kind of like propel some frequencies back out of your ears, but the level of sound and intensity of those frequencies that are exiting your ears are about 10,000 times quieter than the frequencies that are going inside of your ears from the actual source. Now, you need very, very sensitive microphones to be able to pick up those frequencies. Now, once you're able to accumulate those frequencies, you essentially can dictate what a person is more or less sensitive to in terms of the entire frequency range. And that is what this headphone does during the app setup process. It will listen to what you're sensitive to and what you're not sensitive to, and essentially build a sound profile, which is basically a equalizer to compensate for those dips in the frequencies that you're not sensitive to and those peaks in the frequencies that you're sensitive to, and create a balanced sound profile to your ears, automatically equalizing any sound that's piped through this headphone, whether it's through the cable or through Bluetooth, once you have this set up. And as a result, honestly guys, I would say this is the best sounding headphone that I've come across. So I'm going to get more into that a little bit later. I know this is kind of mind-blowing if you followed me, but I do believe these are the best sounding headphones that I've ever heard because of the way the technology in this headphone works. Call quality, in terms of being able to answer Bluetooth phone calls, it's pretty good. I don't really have much issues. It does have its fair share of issues when you are out in a noisy environment. It may be a little bit difficult to hear, but for the most part, when walking through New York City, I can hold phone calls and people can still be able to pick up my voice and understand what I'm saying. And of course, because of the very awesome passive noise isolation of these headphones, because of the dual seal, which is a seal from the inner ear portion as well as a seal from the outer ear, you're basically kind of in your own cocoon without any noise cancellation involved. So I can easily hear what anyone else is saying over a phone call as well as through music. These block out a ton of noise. These are probably the most isolating set of headphones that are passively isolating. My Bose QC35 do block out a little bit more noise, but those need extra electronics for the active noise cancellation circuitry. Now, moving over to the sound quality, and I'm going to explain why I think this is the best sounding headphone. It's going to be very difficult to kind of break down the bass, mid-range, and treble, because I believe that those three frequencies sound either very close to or perfect to my ears after the calibration has been set with these headphones. Now, these do have a feature called Immersion mode, which is basically activating the bass driver in these headphones. So there's two drivers in each ear cup. You have a bass driver that is located in the back portion side, and then you have a smaller mid-range / treble driver that's located in the stalk piece here that goes inside your ear. Now, this is a pretty smart design choice because it isolates the bass frequencies from going inside of your ears. So what happens is when you crank up the bass, you get more of a tactile sensation as opposed to a drowning out of the other frequencies type of sensation that other headphones do when you boost the bass. So when you boost up the bass in immersion mode, it really creates this feeling that you're actually standing next to a subwoofer at a club. Personally, I like to use it just for pretty much shits and giggles. I don't really listen to music often with the bass cranked up. There is a slider, so you do have a pretty wide range of control to how much bass you want added to your music. I do use the immersion slider at the probably like around 20 to 30% of the entire slider. But if you crank it up to medium or the max, which is considered front row, you're going to be in for an experience with some songs that do benefit from that. It's like a totally different experience from headphones, and it really does not drown out the mid-range and treble in the sense that it doesn't boost the lower mid-range because the bass is being boosted. It feels like it's separated in terms of there is no bleed in from the bass to the mid-range. However, because the bass frequencies are much louder, they're going to cancel out some of the frequencies in the other region, if you can understand what I'm saying. But it does not really bleed into the other regions like a singular speaker would if you just crank the bass and you told that same speaker to also handle mid-range and treble. So once you have the immersion mode set to where I have it set to, which is like about 30%, or you turn it off, that's when the profile that's been created by this headphone is rather neutral, and it's tuned so beautifully well. The bass is just so linear. It just covers the entire spectrum, the sub bass, mid bass, and upper bass, with absolutely zero bleed into the mid range. It just sounds so wonderfully fluid and smooth. In terms of the impact, it's tight, it's rich, it's dynamic, punches perfectly. I have no sense of hearing any murkiness in the bass. It's a wonderful bass presentation. Moving over to the mid-range, and the mid-range is so natural, very airy, and very fluid sounding. There's no peaks or valleys because, once again, these have essentially tuned the sound to your specific anatomy, your hearing system. So whatever peaks or valleys that you're sensitive to in the mid-range has been filled out with these headphones. So you effectively are going to get a very smooth, balanced sounding mid-range that sounds very true to life. It's very difficult to kind of explain an ideal sound, but it's just an ideal mid-range for me. I really love the mid-range presentation on these. And moving over to the treble, it's just so extended. And looking into the profile, I can see that I'm not that sensitive to upper treble. So headphones that don't really accentuate that region or have a drop off in that region do tend to sound a bit lifeless and dull to me. And with these headphones, the treble just sounds so present, so right, very crisp, very articulated. It's very smooth as well, which is important, the transition from the mid-range, and just the overall smoothness of the treble throughout the entire frequency, the lower treble, upper treble, all up into the medium transition between the two. It's a very smooth, coherent sounding treble, and this helps play into a very nice soundstage that sounds quite open in 3D. It sounds so coherent, the entire frequency response, that the headphones nearly sound like they have a fake Dolby surround sound going on, but it's not. It's just the sound that you get when you have a very phase correct, coherent, balanced sound and frequency response, that you hear a lot of details and nuances that you wouldn't pick up, and then your brain kind of throws this big sound stage because you're hearing so much more of the music that it sounds nearly like it's being digitally processed to have a surround sound. However, this is being digitally processed to formulate that that balanced EQ profile depending on your hearing. But boy oh boy, the soundstage on these is pretty open sounding, especially being that these are highly sealed passive noise isolating headphones. Overall, the sound quality on these is easily better than any other wireless headphones that I've heard. And I would say it's better than anything that I've heard, primarily because of this wonderfully tuned frequency response. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is the frequency response of the speaker. Then from there, you can work on the qualities of the speaker, how well it handles the bass, how well it can produce a soundstage, how much details it can pull out of the music. All that really isn't that important unless the frequency response is ideal, and these nail that. Because when you read or watch headphone reviews, you notice that people have these widely varying subjective opinions on the sound of a headphone or a speaker. And that's because no one really hears the same. I've set this profile up to my wife's ears as well as a friend. And essentially, if I listen to their profile, because you can save up to 3 profiles on these headphones, the music sounds off. It just sounds wrong when I'm listening to music on their profiles. But to them, it sounds perfectly fine. It sounds amazing to them. And then when they hear my profile, it sounds wrong. It sounds tinny. It sounds too bassy. One of those issues that they bring up. When I listen to my profile, it sounds amazing. This is to tell you that we hear so differently, and the difference is huge. So when you're listening to normal headphones, you're essentially not really getting the most out of those headphones because they were tuned to someone's ears that to them sounded great. But to you, you don't know if you're missing out on some frequencies. You don't know if you're getting too much frequencies. Basically, this headphone has kind of ruined the experience I've had with normal headphones because it just feels like I'm not getting the most out of those headphones, and those headphones just don't get me in terms of the way I hear. And these headphones are the first audio product that I would say really tries to let you hear what the artist intended you to hear, because they step away from the music and just let the music come through by molding itself to the way you hear. So basically what you hear is the music and not the headphone. Conclusion, I highly, highly, highly recommend these headphones. They can fit an audiophile. They can fit a regular consumer who just wants good sound. They can fit a bass head because you can crank the immersion mode on this and you will be in for a treat in terms of the amount of bass that these can produce. Overall, these are the headphones to get. These are the top of my headphone list by far. These are amazing. I can't really stress how awesome these headphones sound. So if there hasn't been anything covered in this review, please let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you for watching this, guys. Later.